They threaten everything from ecosystems to infrastructure to the iconic sugar maple tree that shapes our national identity. We're talking about invasive plants. And as we approach planting season, advocacy groups want everyone to know how they can help stop these invasive plants from spreading. Joining us with more this morning is Claudette Sims with the Canadian Coalition for Invasive Plant Regulation. Good morning.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you today?
I'm well, Claudette. Thank you. And listen, I didn't know that there was a coalition, but I'm glad there is because we've got some important information to share. Invasive plant species have increased 15% in the last decade. How are so many of them getting into our provinces?
Well, we know that the primary path of them entering Canada and the provinces is through the horticultural trade, pardon me. So quite simply, invasive plants are sold in nurseries, in garden centers. They're sold all over the place, and people don't know they're invasive. So we want to stop those sales of plants, and we want them regulated so that people know that what the plants that they are bringing home into their garden and that will escape into the natural areas are actually invasive plants.
That was fascinating to me to learn, Claudette, because, you know, if you go to the airport, you can't bring anything into the country that would be considered invasive, but you could buy it at the horticultural center. So a few examples of the ones that we might encounter are, like, let's say, Japanese barberry, multiflora rose, and baby's breath. So why is this allowed? We see baby's breath everywhere. Why is this allowed?
Yes, baby's breath is often in bouquets that you would buy at Mother's Day or for special occasions. And unfortunately, if you discard those plants, the seeds will germinate and then they'll grow and they'll invade natural areas. So the problem with invasive plants is they'll invade a natural area, they'll dominate it to the exclusion of all other native plants. So, for instance, the trilliums that are behind me, we threaten to lose our natural heritage, all our symbols that what makes us Canadian. As you said a minute ago, the sugar maples and so many other species. And as soon as we lose our plants, unfortunately, everything else in biodiversity it's like a house of cards, or maybe like a Jenga game. So every time we lose something, we pull out one of those Jenga pieces. And once we start pulling out too many pieces, the whole thing just collapses. On top of that, we add the invasive plants on the top of our Jenga game, and we create more havoc. So we lose not only plants, but plants that support insects, birds, mammals, butterflies, bees, all of those disappear. And once they're gone forever. We don't get them back. So we really need some urgent action now on the part of the government.
Yeah, estimates show that invasive plant management has cost Canada about $15 billion since the 60s. It's a lot of money. Canada has two government agencies that oversee invasive plants: Environment and Climate Change Canada and the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. So why is it that regulation has fallen through the cracks? I don't think anybody intentionally goes to the plant store and buys an invasive species. If I knew it, I probably wouldn't buy it.
No, and we don't know it because they're not labeled. And we assume as consumers that products, and plants are products, so products that are sold in stores are okay to use. We have labeling in all kinds of other products, such as cigarettes, and consumer products such as food. We have nutrition information, but we have no labeling of invasive plants. So we do have, as you mentioned, the Canada Food Inspection Agency, the CFIA. They have regulatory control over invasive plants, but their focus is really food security. So they are concerned with agriculture and forestry. They are not as concerned with the environment and human health. And I think part of this is because invasive plants are, you know, historically a fairly recent thing. 30 years ago in my garden, I knew nothing about invasive plants. And now I realize the damage they do and the harm they do to biodiversity. We have in the Food Inspection Agency two plant acts. One is the Seed Act and one is the Plant Protection Act. The Seed Act is to protect noxious weed seeds from entering agriculture, but it doesn't stop plants that are sold at nurseries that are invasive. The Plant Protection Act should allow us to regulate plants, but unfortunately, some of their definitions and their policies are very narrow, and they really focus again on forestry and on agriculture, and they don't always include human health and biodiversity. So the policies are falling behind, they're lagging.
Claudette, thank you for this. Important information to have, especially as we're getting our gardens and our yards ready. I'll be asking more questions when I go to the garden center. Thank you.
And look at our white paper on our CIPR page. We're really proud of it. Thank you very much.
We'll do so. Thanks, Claudette.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.